When I see the Cessna, it reminds me of great memories. The Cessna 152 for me is very precious because it's the first aircraft I've ever flown. There was the Melanie before the 152 and the Melanie after flying it. This plane has trained and inspired generations of pilots and is known for being one of the best small aircraft. Also, the aircraft looks so cute and is very reliable. Can you believe it's been out since 1959? I will never forget my first flight as a pilot because I was really surprised even before taking off. Indeed, I remember turning the control yoke to the direction of the turn on the taxiway, confusing it with the steering wheel of the car. The poor little Cessna going straight ahead instead of turning. Another crazy moment I lived was during my private pilot license exam when during a steep turn to the left, the door opened in flight. The flight examiner was a very experienced flyer, very calmly closed the door while I was in a real panic. One last thing that makes me laugh about the Cessna and why I like it a lot is that it cries like a kitten when it stalls. And I love kittens. When I did my first flight in a Cessna 152, I was very worried. I had been looking forward to this for so many years, to be exact, 21 years. And I was very anxious that all of my conviction of wanting to become a pilot would be a false hope and leave me disappointed and dreamless. In the end, it was a revelation and I was extremely moved by this flight that I will never forget. It was the first step of an amazing aviation career, and that date, it is the biggest step I've ever taken toward my dream of becoming a pilot. Because it was the first step. The first step is always the hardest. During my first solo flight, which was in a Cessna 152, I experienced two extreme things at the same time. Maximum fear and peak satisfaction. I didn't know I was gonna fly solo this day. While I was flying circuit patterns with my flight instructor, he suddenly asked me to do a full stop landing. I was a bit frustrated because the flying session seemed too short for my taste. Suddenly, when we arrived at the apron, my flight instructor turned towards me and told me, now you don't need me anymore and you're gonna fly on your own the circuit pattern. After a briefing on the ground with the engine running, he left the aircraft and suddenly there I was, alone, left to my own devices. I performed my checklist, my hands were shaking, my heart rate was extremely high, my mouth was dry, my brain was confused. I was scared. I had less than 10 hours of flight and I was in a high traffic environment because I was learning to fly in Lyon, which is a major airport. So, there I am, lined up on the runway 34. I have the horizon ahead of me and suddenly I set full power and release the brakes. I control the aircraft, everything is going fine, take off, I climb and I get ready for the landing. Once the plane is in straight level, I have a few seconds for me to think how much of an idiot I am to have taken off with this aircraft. After this moment, I was in survival mode and I had to focus to land this aircraft. Of course, everything went on perfectly well, the landing was very good, and this is a day I will never forget. Because flying solo is a huge milestone in the career of a pilot. In fact, this is what leads you to fly a Boeing 787 in the future. Despite its small size and that it looks like a modest plane in the museum, this amazing Cessna has given birth to numerous generations of pilots around the world. Even after more than 60 years of service, it remains one of the favorite planes of all time amongst all pilots.